Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining today's session with ikeGPS as part of NWR's Vantage Point conference. Before we hear from Glenn Miles, who's on the line, CEO of ikeGPS, a couple of quick reminders. The format of today's presentation is designed to be interactive. We'll aim to hear a quick 5 to 10 minute overview of the company, followed by an interactive Q&A session. And we do encourage the participation of the audience to submit anonymous questions via the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. We will aim to have this session wrapped up by about 9:25 a.m. So without further ado, thank you, Glenn, and I'll pass it over to you.
Great, thanks, Sam. Thanks everyone for taking the time to join. So we're IKE, the Polar West company. We're headquartered in Colorado, the United States. We target the North American electric utility and communications market. So we're a software business. We help networks get deployed much faster and at a higher digital standard of engineering. So I'll take you through some update slides quickly and per the overview, but hopefully leave time for some Q&A. So please take note of this important notice. So in terms of where we're at a glance, FY23, our financial year finishes in March of each year. We delivered just under 31 million of revenue, so it was 93% higher than the prior calendar period. I think the interesting thing from an investor lens now is close to 90% of our revenue comes from recurring and reoccurring sources, either transaction revenue or subscription revenue. We've got about 380 enterprise accounts, just a small segment of the North American market opportunity that we target. We're winning about one new enterprise customer a week in terms of run rates. Our gross margin, again, grew substantially to 16.5 million. We've got a very strong balance sheet, so 23.2 million of cash and receivables on the balance sheet and no debt. So I'll just pulse through these next 10 or so slides quite quickly. There's a chart here just showing our revenue growth through these past 3 years. As I mentioned, the key thing is really the green and the blue segment, which represents reoccurring transaction revenue and recurring subscription revenue. So that's grown really substantially over the past 3, 4, 5 years as we've continued to invest in our software suite of products. Just quickly about our market, we're fortunate to be in the right place at the right time. So we help, if you just look at that pole in the photograph here, those are 5G antennas that are attached to that power pole, all being connected with fiber. And so we support these communication companies deploy their networks much more quickly in terms of using digital design rather than historical, quite manual engineering methods. About 200 communications companies in the US that are in a race to get their fiber network built, and there's probably 5 to 7 years of this sort of mega trend of fiber development to still to come in the United States. And I'll talk a bit more about our customer footprint shortly. And then the second market we support, which is much bigger again, is the electric utility space. Again, if you look in the background at the photograph, this is a power pole that has failed. And you can just see the sheer amount of infrastructure that's attached to every single distribution pole. And again, IKE products dramatically improve the engineering, design, and maintenance of distribution poles. So more than 3,000 electric utilities in the US, they're all generally natural monopolies. They share best practice and almost 250 million distribution poles that need to be consistently engineered and assessed and strengthened over and over and over again because of regulatory and operational requirements. So one of the other market tailwinds that's emerged really quickly in the North American landscape is just what's required. If you look down the bottom at the market commentary, just a realization that the electric utilities are going to have to move from having about 20% of the nation's energy sits on the electrical grid today. It's probably got to go to 50% by 2050 to be able to power the electric vehicle market and meet carbon net zero targets. And what that means is they've got to build a lot more capacity into the electrical grid. And we support that engineering process to assess, design, and maintain the distribution grid. Similar to what you be seeing in the Australian market with the Rewiring the Nation initiative, but in the US it's happening at just a much, much greater scale. In terms of where we are in the market today, we have about 380 enterprise customers. We have 5 of the 10 largest investor-owned utilities, so they're the biggest of the utility group that use our software every day for their distribution design. We've got some of the largest communications companies. I know many of these names might not mean a huge amount if you're not familiar with the US landscape, but AT&T is the biggest communications company in the world. Crown Castle International, they're the largest. They've got the largest fiber footprint across North America, and again, are standardized on IKE. And then the third customer group, which is becoming more and more important, are the engineering companies that do work on behalf of these big infrastructure groups. So they tend to have very long contracts in place with the underlying infrastructure owners. They're a very important conduit into the network owners for IKE. We sell directly. As I mentioned, we're headquartered in Colorado. We have about 80 people in the Colorado office. We have another 25 or so based in New Zealand, mostly a software development team. We brand directly. We concentrate on delivering the best customer experience in the industry. That's our goal, and we're fortunate to just have a really tremendous team and a lot of sort of young talent who's just accelerating through our business and very much the face of what we do to the industry. We think we're just getting going in terms of size and scale and growth. And this is a pretty simplistic chart, but for us, growth comes from multiple avenues. One is winning new enterprise accounts. We've got about 6% of the market today in terms of logos. So a lot of room to grow in terms of new accounts. Most of our growth, our revenue growth that you're seeing at the moment, is coming from just growing existing customer footprints. Customers start small and we can build over time. We've got a lot of case studies now of building customers up, through past $1 million per annum, and opportunities just to keep growing inside the existing customer footprint. We do have a focus on M&A in terms of inorganic growth. We've made 2 quite successful technology acquisitions to date. The first of those we're about to, this year, I think the revenue for that business will be about 10x from where we acquired it back in 2019, and we've got some interesting proof points coming from the other business. And then over time, even though it's not in our near-term future, there's an international market expansion opportunity through partners. I'll go super fast now in terms of our product stack, but we ship 3 software products and a transaction program called IKE Analyze, which is when customers use our technology to capture their raw engineering information. We process it for them and give them back an engineering deliverable. But the business model upshot is every customer pays us a backbone subscription fee per annum. Then we've got a usage multiplier. It's either selling more software seats as the software gets used more in a business, or we charge on a transaction basis. So that's the number of assets that go through our system. And then we've got the value-added products such as IKE Analyze and also a training education program called IKE University. And there's just some photographs there around what the software looks like in practice, very specific to distribution assets and design for the North American landscape. Just some interesting update items that we're excited about. We're releasing a next generation IKE structural product in the coming quarter or so. It's called Next Gen Pole Foreman. We've been fortunate to have a really strong customer council that we've used to build the product features and capability, and there's some of the logos down there. So several of the biggest utilities in the country who are very vested in what we've built, and we've had some interesting early proof points. So we've flipped a couple of large investor-owned utilities. We just brought on one of the top 5 investor-owned utilities into this product platform, which has been a good early win. So we're excited about bringing this to market later in the year. I think ditto with our IKE Insight product. So this is AI and machine learning is a horribly overused term at the moment, but we've been investing in building automation capability around power pole assessment and design using any kind of data coming from multiple different sources. And the recent proof point here has been a partnership agreement with it's the world's largest data collection company, who we can't yet name, but they're collecting, vehicle-based imagery, drone-based imagery, and other types of data capture, and we are their design partner for power poles, covering the North American market. And just to note here, we have had M&A as sort of, it's in our DNA, and we're always looking for opportunities for companies focused on the North American distribution market, tied to our strategy, and we think potentially an opportunity to find some really well priced opportunities over the next 12 to 24 months, given what's happening in the private capital markets. And I'll pause there. Sam, over to you.
Okay, great. Thanks, Glenn. Appreciate you running through the overview. We've got a few questions coming in here. Can you just discuss any recent strategic partnerships and collaborations that might meaningfully contribute to the company's future growth?
Well, actually, we just touched on 2 of those. I think one has been we've worked with that very high-powered customer council through the past 24 months, and that the product output from that work and collaboration is going to hit the market later this year, and so we're excited about that. We think we've really built something that has great market fit. And then the second item has been the partnership agreement with this very, very large data capture business, and we think that gives us the opportunity to do some of this design work at really large scale, and we're excited about that. Although still, I think, guiding quite conservatively about the time frame before we'll really be turning the handle on delivery for certain customers.
Okay, great. How does IKE approach customer acquisition and retention, and what strategies are in place to expand the customer base and increase customer loyalty?
Yeah, there's 2 parts to that. In terms of, we have a sales playbook and dedicated teams covering each of the 3 customer segments that we looked at. So we've got an electric utility sales group, and it's reasonably straightforward. So we know exactly the name of the person that we need to talk to in terms of role title within the standards engineering group, and it's a very definable target customer list. There's 3,000 utilities, and you can rank them from biggest to smallest, and we pursue them that way. And the interesting thing for us is our sales cycle has sped up quite dramatically, just as we've developed brand value and recognition, etc. So we're able to reduce the sales cycle quite considerably from where we were probably 2 years ago. And ditto on the communication side. Again, there's 200 communications companies. We know who we need to talk to. We can put our hand on our heart in terms of value proposition, and so it's a direct sales model. And then we deliver directly as well, because customers really value sort of that partnership selling. We can help educate them on how to do some of this work better, and that that drives stickiness through that whole customer experience.
Okay, great, thank you. You touched on some of the larger players, particularly those with the ability to capture data at scale. Do you see these companies as a risk to IKE as well as an opportunity to partner and collaborate?
No, I look, I don't think they're a risk. So we're talking about businesses like Microsoft, Google, etc., that are out there just capturing masses of data for their core products, like their mapping software programs, etc. I think they're really looking for partners that can be subject matter experts and do some of these things, very specifically. And our goal has always been to be able to process all of this bulk data and apply it to distribution network engineering. What we do is very specific. We plug right into the back end of the network libraries for these utility customers. So it's relatively complex for I think these more general data capture businesses to come into our space. Now, nothing's impossible, of course, when you're talking about companies of that size, but I don't think it's in their wheelhouse.
Okay, great, thank you. Just on M&A, I think you touched on you're looking at acquisitions. Are these just more sort of bolt-on, tuck-in acquisitions? And is there any element within the product and solution offering that you're most focused on?
Well, it's the thing that really matters to our customers is analytics and just driving faster and better decision making. So yeah, we look at that sort of intelligence layer. Once we have the network data, then how can we use it in different departments across the utility customer. So it's those types of product extensions that we think are quite meaningful.
Okay, great. And just on innovation, you talked about some of your next gen products within the presentation. Can you just elaborate on the broader product portfolio and any further notable innovation to stay ahead of competition?
I mean, for us, we're looking at automation and how can there's too much engineering required of our customer footprint, and they really need help with some of the more manual and repetitive engineering tasks. And so, we're looking to bring automation into each of our 3 products so people can go faster and be more accurate in the stages of engineering that we support.
Okay, thanks. And just changing gears a little to sales and marketing strategies. Can you provide an update on your sales and marketing strategies, including any recent initiatives that could help continue to drive growth?
There's probably two parts to that. So, we're investing in brand and customer experience, and that sort of provides the ear cover from a marketing standpoint. So if you have time to look at our website, you'll see something called the IKE Wire, which is it's like an information channel. So we run just industry topical webinars, which are meant to be educational in nature rather than promotional. We're investing a lot in our training and deployment capability and digitizing that. COVID hurried that along, but it's something we're still working hard on, because again, educating is the new selling. It's if you can get out there and train your potential customers and prospects, it makes the sales process a lot easier. And then we are just investing in more sales talent, and that's the constant battle in a growth company, is you just always trying to upgrade your sales talent. And the more you sell and the more revenue you've got coming in, the bigger the pipeline, it's easier to access those tier 1 sales leaders. So we're always working hard on the actual sales team itself.
Great, thanks. And you talked earlier about the stickiness of customers. Can you just give us an idea about sort of annual churn from a higher level across the business?
Yes, well, it's a good question. So in terms of revenue retention, it's exceptionally high. So we're in the very high 90% in terms of the customers that contribute 90+% of our revenue. We don't lose the customers that are large, as a general rule. But we do have churn when you're talking about small engineering companies in particular. So they might come in, they might get a project at Exelon Group, which is a core customer of ours. They'll buy our products because Exelon will make them buy our products. They'll complete their project, which might be a 6-month engineering project, and then they'll be off, into a different utility. So those little customers can tend to, flip on and flip off. They tend to come back when they're back into another utility that standardizes on IKE. So I hope that makes sense. So our customer churn numbers, I think it's in the high 80%, but it looks more severe than it is. But it's just the nature of the market for everyone.
Yep, no, understood. Thank you. And then I think just the last question, given time here, what keeps the management team up at night? What are the key risks and challenges that IKE faces, and what mitigation strategies might be in place to help address these?
Well, it sounds like a throwaway answer, but it's not. It's really around execution and execution capability, and we do feel we're fortunate to be in the right market at the right time with a solution that really matters. And market timing is everything, from in a growth situation. So that's not a problem, and our products and technology is very stable and just delivers value. So we're sort of through the technology and product risk side, more or less. And so, yeah, in terms of mitigation around execution, it's attracting and retaining talent, and doing a good job in terms of talent retention. And then the second thing is really around systems and systems efficiency. I mean, that means we can scale without incurring, linear people costs alongside. So we've invested significantly over the last 18 months in terms of a finance system, an HR system, our CRM, in terms of Salesforce, and also marketing automation systems. So, just making sure we can keep growing as fast as we have been, but not needing to have the same kind of people costs.
Okay, great. Well, I think that wraps it up in terms of questions. Maybe Glenn, I could just pass it back to you if you've got any closing comments.
No, thank you. Appreciate everyone's time, and obviously happy to take, if there are some follow-on questions, my email's on this presentation, so happy to come back to anyone directly.
Okay, great. Thank you. That completes today's session with IKE. Thank you very much for joining. Goodbye. Have a great day.